So we're putting in a brace here. It's called a bisecting H. This is a corner in the fence line. So over here is our water gap where we drove posts about a week ago. And there's a line from the far left ones where there's a gate there. And we'll drive the brace post here in a minute. But first, they had to drive this bisecting H so they knew where to put the brace post. If they drove the brace post first without lining it with the corner, then things can get really wonky and the wire isn't straight and things just don't work right. As soon as they're done here, ooh, look, he hit a rock. As soon as they're done driving that post, I'll go over and measure it. Measure for the brace bar, measure for chain link, where we weld chain link on for the wire, and we close chain link up afterwards when we're done welding it, and we've painted it, wires through, and we're clipping. Solid ground, but seem to have hit either a root system or a rock. But with this pipe, we had problem with the 3.5 and the bigger pipe. With the top mushrooming earlier, a few years ago when we were working here on a different job, which really isn't that big of a deal, but the Tune 7/8 is really nice to work with. We got 11 more posts after this. It's not level, so they're gonna have to push it over a little farther with the bucket. Get that done. So the post isn't quite level, not where we want it to be, so we're going to use the tractor to, here real quick, push the pipe more into place, and then the brace bar will be to the right length to where everything's solid, everything will work out right. We don't like doing it, but we got to do what we got to do to get the post right. That'll give signals, line everything up, and then we have our corner, and we are set to drive that brace post over there. So for deadmen, we have to put in angle posts, and the driver is not quite long enough, so we use an extension for it, which is this metal block here. You can't quite see, but it's in there. And we have to bolt it in to drive the angle posts off the end, and we're actually going to put 2 in, but we're going to drive them over there. We've fought this a few times. Occasionally the bolts don't quite work, but started having better luck with it.
Righty-tighty.
The deal is that this corner from all the way back up here, which is where our next posts are going to go, from the bisecting H all the way down here, is a little too long for one dead man to keep the fence out of the road. So we have to put in 2. And we're going to drive the 2 angle posts first. So Dad's having fun literally on a ledge, and then so it's going to be even tougher than a normal angle. Tommy has to make sure he isn't dropping off the ledge at the same time he's not making for any problems for Dad or being in the middle of the road. The fun thing about deadmen though is the angle post that we drive doesn't have to be straight. So it's definitely a little bit easier, but at the same time a lot harder to drive them. Previously on the job, there's been some worse areas. This is by far not the worst we've ever been working in. This is actually fair compared to some of the stuff we've worked through, even just here in the last couple months. So like you see, last time Dad didn't do anything, or Dad had to work the level a lot, but on these angle posts, you don't have to. Near as bad. The tough part is that Dad has to keep that post pushed up in the driver, so the driver will hang on to it and hit it, while at the same time fighting rocks below the surface and trying to keep himself upright on the ledge and run the handle. So it's not an easy task for sure. A lot of resetting your feet and moving the tractor around. So on our deadman with the pipe, we use cable instead of wire like you might on a wood post, and we weld some full-size chain link to the bottom. Dad just finished the angle post, and just to give you a look, that's the one half of it. This is the first of the two deadmen. Now we're gonna move down over here by the bush and put in another dead man like that, but this one's still gonna be angle. Once we're done with the angle, then we'll stop, we'll pull the block back out, the extension that helps get us the depth we need for the depth we need for that angle post, so that it's still solid when we put that cable up and start tightening it. Deadmen are really easy to build, not very much time, a little bit of prep time, a little bit more than your standard brace bar, bisecting H, double H, single H, whatever. But there's also with your string and steel that you can have sometimes problems string and wire. Sorry, not string and steel. Stringing wire, you have to go around and below each wire, and it can be a hassle. But this one's a little bit worse because there's no ground for Dad to be standing on. It's all slippery grass. Not a whole lot to be working with. Post driver is a very interesting tool, a very dangerous tool. You have to respect it, otherwise you can definitely hurt yourself and others around you. Part of the trick is keeping the top of the post driver and the bottom of the post driver at about the same distance from the pipe, and your side to side still being level, and you can have problems with that a lot. That's part of the trick of running the tractor, is being able to set those spots, and even when you're set, you might have to move back and forth a few times. So, you just finished driving the pipe. Just slow. Sweet. The angle pipe we drive at 40 inches. Which is a lot shallower.
It out at 7.5
yeah.
feet long. And we've only got a little over 3 feet left out.
Now that we're finished driving the 2 angle posts for the deadman, we'll lower this beast back down and then pull the block out so we can drive the straight posts correctly. It's trying to put another squall of water on us. Definitely not the favorite conditions to be working in, but
Better than lightning.
yeah, a lot better than lightning, that's for sure. Goodness. So we pulled it out, we're good to go for the next pipe. We keep the block right behind the seat on the tractor. That way it's always there when we need it, and we don't have any problems forgetting it or something else. We have another block, but it's just a circular pipe. It's not anything fancy like this one. And now that we got that angle, the 2 angles drove, we'll get the straight pipe drove. It's the same principle, same idea as your bisecting H, your double H, whatever, on this pipe. It's just that at the top of the post, once we have it drove and we're coming in and molding it to what we want, top of the post we put an eye in it, and we put some cable in it and a couple of cable clamps, and then tie off to the bottom. There's a we weld a full chain link at the bottom of the other post and a couple clamps over there, and then we use another tool to tighten the cable up. Can't quite think of the name right now, but that's okay. Dad overjudged a little bit, so the post driver and the post isn't quite straight, so Tommy's got to pull forward a little, and then Dad will straighten everything back up, level it out a little further forward. Side to side seems to be looking alright. Nothing too terrible. Front to back's doing alright. I had to adjust the side a little. Dad's about got the post where he wants it. And now he'll drop the hammer. We drive these pipe till the bottom of the hammer is touching the ground on a stroke. So it'll turn out about 48 inches typically. And like Dad said earlier, they start out at 7.5 feet, towering over each of us, and they end up almost 2 feet shorter than us. So little angling, that's gonna look. He's about got the depth right. Just got to make sure everything's straight. Looks about good, so we'll move on to the next one. We'll move up, drive this straight post, and then from here, that's where it starts getting tricky, because this corner up ahead's a little too tight to put a fence in. So a typical fence, anything with a brace or anything. So we're thinking about if the angles will work right, we're gonna put in pipe posts instead of steel posts, so we can get around the corner without having to build anything spectacular. So just a little bit of the process. Working on the tractor. A person running the tractor has a lever that they have to hold and lock for the hydraulics on the back end on the 3-point to work. So there's a piece of iron there that we slip down, and it'll hold that lever there once you've got it set. Once you get to the spot you think you want it, drop the 3-point. Typically drop the bucket, but the bucket's just light enough we don't have to worry about it near so much as you might with the forks. Sometimes the ride on the tractor definitely gets a little bit bouncy, but today seems to be going pretty well. This rain's soaking in nice. This post driver is definitely a very useful tool for us and for our operation. Definitely like using it a lot more than digging holes for sure, or anything else, or drilling holes. We stand off to the side when we can, which is normally all the time, because the post driver has a tendency with wood posts, with too much force and bad ground, it will literally shatter the post in half. And we've had previous experiences with that top half shattering and embedding itself 4 feet in a juniper tree. Directly behind the driver. So not something to mess around with at all. Looks pretty straight, so we're gonna move on up and put in these pipe. We're gonna keep on anyhow.